you're printing on paper, especially, I mostly only notice this on paper and some wall coverings. And I think it's because of the category. But if you look closely here, this is my calibration chart. And what I have is at the end of the calibration chart, there's these wet ink smudges. Wet ink smudges, if you can see that. And they have the little telltale squigglies that we get from our pinch rollers. So this was a paper that I built a preset for, and I did the speed, and I chose the temperature, and I picked the ink density, and then I named it, and then I said calibrate. And that's what this is. This is a calibration chart. The trouble is, as far as I can tell, the internal settings for the printer for that calibration are not the same ones that I entered in. They're using a default setting for this material and for any material based on the paper category. And I think what it is they have the temperature and or the optimizer set quite low, the temperature primarily. And that's done so that if they print on it to do the evaluation, they're not putting too much heat. And it doesn't buckle and therefore cause the head to come out and scrape the paper. So it was set at a low temperature, which is causing the ink, especially at the tail end, to bleed. That black is not dry. And what it does is it prints the chart and then it rolls back, and it starts with the back line first. So it's not smudging until it starts rolling to the front line, and then it rolls into the pinch rollers and causes it to drag. So I'm comfortable with the reading because it's doing back to front. But then when the paper is done, I have ink trails being dragged across the paper. This is not entirely uncommon. Usually what I do is roll the paper forward a little bit, get a nice clean lint-free cloth that's absorbent, and I put a little bit of water and I wipe the rollers and roll forward and wipe the roller and roll forward. That way I remove all of the ink from the rollers and it doesn't drag anymore, and then I just wait a little bit and then take it dry, do the same thing, and eventually no more ink. Just be aware of this. I believe it's connected to default settings for category, and the reason they have those settings low is so there's no chance that the paper will buckle or cockle and then cause a bigger issue where the carriage can't roll over it and read it properly because it needs to lay flat. That would be my guess. And in some papers, the settings are just too low, and it causes it to kind of drag forward. I've seen it in wall coverings as well that are non-wovens or paper-based wall coverings where it does the same thing. There's even been some isolated cases where the settings are low enough that effectively what's occurring is the material, the ICC can't be read because it can't read the registration points because they've bled. That's more of a rarity, but I've seen that as well. So just be aware of it. I'm just explaining it. I don't think it's an end of the world kind of thing, but it is mildly annoying, and if you don't clean it afterward, my concern is if you went on to the ICC and you still had ink dragging, it could distort your ICC results because you would be leaving ink from the pinch rollers onto the next chart. So usually I hit finish, clean everything up, roll it forward, and then I do the ICC chart. Just some things that I've seen. I noticed that the other day. I thought I'd capture it and at least document it so you understand the nature of the problem. Easy workaround, very simple, but just something that we do know about, and it's particular to paper products as a category generally.